Hi there. In this lecture we see Mikhail Shofman against Mikhail Tal in 1962 Leningrad tournament. So e4, Tal plays d6, very interesting. Knight c3, knight f6, f4, g6. So Tal is adopting a kind of Pirc defense. Knight f3, bishop g7, bishop c4, Tal castles d3, c6. And this has in view already some ideas like b5 and maybe a5. And potentially, if we get to play this, then later things like knight a6, knight c5 or b4 and bishop a6 could actually hit white's pawn chain hard, especially on d3. That could be a major target later structurally as the kind of most exploitable part of the pawn chain. We see white castling b5, bishop b3, and now a5. So threatening immediately though to trap the bishop. So white has to react and plays a3. This does weaken the support for the bishop on b3. And now Tal's next move highlights that issue potentially. So knight c5 coming in will not only hit structurally the d3 pawn, it will also mean, white is concerned about the b3 bishop as well. So very interesting move, knight a6. So we see f5. This might be a bit slow. Maybe more accurate is queen e1. So for example, a4, bishop a2, b4. This is pretty sharp stuff, but here it seems as though the bishop might be returning back with a decent position for white, and some of the attacking potential is still here. This is okay for white, but with f5 we see knight c5, and now queen e1 maybe makes the situation a bit worse than it needs to be. Bishop a2, there might be though g takes f5, daring to play like this, because actually the bishop can go back and it's kind of solid for black here. It seems solid enough in any case. Even if c6 drops, black has a small edge actually here. So anyway, queen e1 though was played, and now bishop a6. So again kind of targeting potentially d3. F takes, h takes, bishop a2. And now b4, we can see the pressure building up. But not only that, there's a concern also of b3, trying to really break white's pawn chain. So Tal is playing against the pawn chain largely in this game. And we see a kind of panicky looking move, a sacrifice actually, e5. Why is white potentially indulging a piece sack? Well, after taking, white definitely is. But before we get into that, what are the issues here? If a takes, knight d1, b3 hits the pawn chain really, really hard. So for example, bishop b1, actually black can just take and then take on d3. And this is pretty nasty stuff, potentially winning the exchange there. If knight b1, b3 again, and we see, all of black's pieces are really hitting white's pawn chain hard, and it's very, very nice for black indeed. So e5 is kind of a little bit desperate looking, especially after d takes, knight takes e5, just offering an entire knight. So Shofman is playing like Tal against Tal. How naughty. Tal accepts the piece sacrifice. Knight takes c6. Here, if knight takes g6, then maybe knight takes d3 is interesting. So knight takes e7 here, king h8. This position ends up being fine for black. There's a key defensive resource, bishop h7 there. So anyway, knight takes c6 was played. And now, guess what Tal plays in this position? If I give you 5 seconds to pause the video. So for 100 points. Okay. Knight takes d3 is played. This hits the queen. It's interesting. If queen b6, knight takes e7, king h8 would be desperately needed. Otherwise, black gets obliterated. For example, here, this variation is actually okay because there's knight h7. That's a key resource in this line. If it did happen, and for example like this is going to be okay because of this check and taking on g5, but it does get scary, these queen b6 lines. If king h8 is not played and king h7, just to show some of the dangers. Bishop e3. This situation is actually rather dangerous. White gets to show off the attacking potential. For example, with bishop takes g6 check, knight f5 check, white will be in the driving seat here overall, it seems. This is a dangerous position, more for black. So anyway, knight takes d3 instead of queen b6 is fascinating. So knight takes e7 is played, check. If c takes, then queen b6 is check, and then taking on c6, no problem. So knight takes e7 check is played. Now king h7 in this particular position is actually fine. It's very, very different. C takes, bishop takes d3. Yeah, it's precision engineering. Slightly different position, and things are okay. Rook f3, rook a7. Here, if instead of rook a7, rook e8 might actually be plausible just about with knight h5. This situation, there's queen b6 check and taking on b2. So that's okay for black. So, okay, rook a7 was played. Queen takes c3. If rook h3, I mean, this is tempting, but it's too slow. Knight h5. If g4, then just taking on e7, it's just far too slow. And this pins, against h3. Black's getting a big advantage. Also, if we try queen d1, rook takes e7, the king can now sort of still be safe here in this line. This is just crushing. Black's got a big advantage there. So queen takes c3 was tried. But now, yeah, taking out this knight is very important. Rook takes d3, but now queen b6 check, and it's a disaster. This has turned into a total disaster. After this next move, for 100 points, guess what Tal played in this position, which is super crushing tactically. So black to play, what would you play? Really beautiful tactical move. You might want to pause the video. Okay, I'm about to reveal. Okay, knight g4, yeah, just offering the queen. We want to get to e1. We're threatening rook e1 mating. End of game. So if queen takes this is checkmate. If bishop e3, then we're just going to take the queen. No problem, really. If check, then we just put the knight here. We're not getting mated on h8. If we move the king, there's rook h8, mate potentially. But this is fine. We can even counter-sack, and it's fine. So yes, a very, very interesting, sharp tactical game. There were some interesting resources for white behind the scenes, but Tal's knight takes d3 was very, very disruptive, giving back a piece and giving many opportunities for black to kind of get, checks, key tactical resources against the white king. So a fantastic tactical game, showing Tal as a kind of defender and also a pawn chain underminer, with d3 being a major issue for white structurally. Okay, thanks so much. Hi there. Thanks for getting to the end of the YouTube video. If you would like to see other Mikhail Tal games, I actually have an amazing course for Mikhail Tal, which is currently at 4.9 with over 400 students. You can check this out from the Kingscrusher TV page. So Chess Strategy and Tactics, Mikhail Tal's amazing games. You can check out some free preview videos as well here. If you do expand all sections, you can see the preview links to get some free previews. So I hope you do check out this course index and the free previews. So I really had a thrilling time actually checking out Mikhail Tal's games. So yeah, the YouTube video here you saw was just a sample from this course. I hope you check it out. Okay, thanks so much. Oh, by the way, comments, questions, likes, shares, all appreciated. And if you did get to this part of the video, please do leave some sort of comment like Tal fan. Okay, thanks again.